The content contained in this podcast are the opinions and beliefs of individual conservative students at the George Washington University, and these opinions are not necessarily supported by GW Young America's Foundation.
Hey guys, welcome back to YAVcast. My name is Emma.
And my name is Joe. This week we'll be discussing why we left the left and veered towards conservatism.
Alright, well, let's get started.
Yeah, so Emma, first off, tell me why you left the left.
I left the left, that's a great phrase. I left the left about a year ago. So I came into college super liberal, from Rhode Island, raised super liberal, knew pretty much only liberals, had high school teachers that were only liberals. So I was kind of in a bubble, you could say, and coming to DC also, I was kind of in a bubble. And I remember my first day of classes, we were discussing this article that came out about the University of Chicago and how the University of Chicago did not support safe spaces on their campus. They said that, we're an institution of higher learning. Some ideas are obviously heinous and, can hurt people's feelings, but we're not going to ban speech. That's not what we're about, and that's going to be the end of it. And so I, being the ignorant soul I was freshman year.
Liberal.
Yeah, exactly. I thought, that's a great position. The University of Chicago wants everybody to be able to speak and have an opinion and be part of the public square, etc. And so I raised my hand, and a very eager freshman saying, well, I think that's a great idea. And the gasps heard around the room were like, it was like a tsunami of, how dare you? And one after one of everybody in that class was like, I can't believe you wouldn't, support, a safe space. How can you have free speech if people don't feel safe to talk about anything? And I was like, hold on, wait a minute. So that was my first indication that maybe I wasn't as liberal as I thought I was, because that was just my gut reaction to an article I was, served up in class, and I thought, hey, wait a minute, maybe, my instincts aren't necessarily along with the values that I've been spoon-fed. I started to realize that a lot of the discussions in my classes, especially about women and about feminism, didn't seem to empower me, which is what I know they were supposed to do. I always kind of left feeling like a victim, because every discussion would be, you're a woman, so that means you will get discriminated against. That means that, people will look down upon you. That means you will inevitably face some sort of, instance of sexism or sexual harassment or sexual assault in the workplace. You might not ever get to your career aspirations. And I was like, well, that doesn't feel very empowering. I would like to actually, better myself, better my skills, instead of complaining about something that has never happened to me.
Absolutely. Did they give you any facts at all for how you would receive discrimination?
They just sort of said, well, it's society at large that is out to get you.
I see, yep.
So I didn't necessarily feel empowered, and I thought, well, why can't we all just be treated as individuals? Obviously, if bad things happen to you, it's bad, but that's on a case-by-case basis. It's not like we have a law out there saying that women have to be paid 50% less than men. And I started to read up more about the gender wage gap and how, there's a lack of nuance in all of those statistics that are out there. And I came to YAV's Christina Hoff Summers event in, I want to say it was March of last year, and she pretty much articulated in a better way everything that I was feeling. So I think we talked before about, kind of feeling like you were in this sense of political ambiguity for a while when you realized your values don't necessarily align with what you thought they did. So, I don't know if you can, definitely relate to that, but that's kind of why I changed.
All right. I was the same thing as you. I grew up in Connecticut. Came to here, as a Democrat my entire life. Worked for a Democratic senator. And supported the Hillary campaign. I even campaigned for Hillary. Yeah, yikes. And so after the election, I kind of found myself wondering, how is it possible that Trump could have gotten elected? What caused this? And so I started to do research, which I had never done before. I had never, looked and actually researched Republican viewpoints before, any conservative viewpoints. I was just spoon-fed what was on CNN or MSNBC. And so I did my research, and I came across the likes of, Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, Jordan Peterson. You might not call him a conservative, but he's definitely pro-free speech. and just a bunch of these YouTube channels that were conservative, but then also like Fox News, and just kind of listening to what these arguments were. And come to find out, I realized that these are smart viewpoints. They're based on fact. They're based on not on opinion or feelings. And it just really made sense to me. So another thing I felt is that I was kind of alienated with my viewpoints, even when I was on the left. Even when I was on the left, I couldn't talk about some viewpoints because I'm not a minority. I'm not a woman. I haven't experienced rape. I haven't been in a situation where I've had to get an abortion. So I can't talk about anything related to those things, which is the identity politics of the left, which I realized I absolutely hated. Also, even while I was on the left, I was pro-gun. So, I realized that not only do I have a bunch of these viewpoints that would be considered conservative, but my viewpoints that I had that were liberal, like all black people are being oppressed, that, basically if you're a minority in America, you'll never succeed, were not really based on fact. They were based more on opinion. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of nice. It was almost refreshing to realize, wow, I can argue my viewpoints not just based on what I feel or what my friends feel or what society's telling me to feel, but on actual facts. Mm-hmm. And then another thing was that even since I was a kid, I've thought the Constitution is the coolest document ever, and that's such a nerdy thing to say, but I thought that it is so special because it is the only governmental document in the world that grants you the right to free speech. And that, everything else, it has merits in other ways too, but free speech was my favorite thing, that no matter what you say, as long as it doesn't incite violence or whatever, the other very small things are, that you can say whatever you want and you can express your opinion whatever you want. And I was that's sacred. And when I found that the left was trying to kind of trample on free speech with these safe spaces or by banning the use of certain words in public spaces, it kind of spoke to me all right, well, isn't free speech supposed to also defend what is considered hate speech if you believe that hate speech is a thing? And so then I did more research on that and realized that, well, free speech is all speech, because what you determine is hate speech now might not be hate speech in the future, or what isn't might basically it's just an arbitrary definition. So I just kind of, all of these beliefs flip-flopped for me, and it was kind of eye-opening.
Yeah, definitely. Another appealing part of, being more right-leaning nowadays is that there's an actual solution to problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I see on the left, and it's not, them, not being able to think, or it's not that they don't want solutions, mm-hmm. It's that their solution is to recognize everybody's differences. And I'm putting this in air quotes, so I hope this picks up on the audio that this is in air quotes, that you're supposed to recognize everybody's differences, and that's somehow supposed to solve, cycles of poverty, that's supposed to empower people, that's supposed to, unite the country more. All it does is divide people, in my opinion, and all it does is tell, kids maybe who are stuck in bad situations, you won't be able to do that because of X, Y, Z, society is out to get you, and you'll never succeed in life. And that's so disheartening. You want to see kids, who maybe weren't born in the best situations, be able to feel like they can overcome something.
To break that cycle, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that the only facts that the left, and I know we use this term identity politics, and I hate to, categorize, but more time and time again I see that when the left brings up statistics, it's all showing statistical disparities of representation of minorities in certain fields or certain positions. Mm-hmm. And even the most Bush League statistics student would know that statistical disparity does not mean correlation, and the first correlation that they always jump to is racism. This is because white people are racist and we have a racist society. And so when I realized that these conservative speakers that I was looking at looked at the whole broad idea that not just that racism could be a factor, that it could be culture, it could be personal choice, it could be all of these different factors, and it kind of seemed way more comprehensive than the kind of more intellectual left that just goes, oh, we're so smart, it's racism, we figured it out.
Yeah, well, they, another thing that they point to is, oh, well, women aren't, pursuing STEM careers in the same rates that men are. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, well, there could be reasons for that other than sexism. Obviously, you know, like, there was systematic racism.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, no one's denying that.
Nobody denies that. However, there are different tendencies among different individuals, and you can't always point to, like, I just don't understand what their desired outcome is, I think is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if you can ever get to a point in society where women and men who have obvious differences, just based on biology, will be, you know, 50% and 50% in every single STEM field, in every single, you know, like we can't have 50% men and 50% women in doctor's fields, or else it must be, you know, some sort of societal, like, sexism out to get you.
There's a book I read called Quest for Cosmic Justice by Thomas Sowell, who's a genius. He's an absolutely incredible economist. But this book was basically about social justice, and basically the intro talked about how it is impossible to expect equal representation of different groups of people in different fields. Because, for example, the Vikings were very good at fishing. They were an island. They lived by the coast. They were really good at fishing. How could you expect someone who grew up in the middle of Missouri to be as good at fishing and navigating the high seas? It's geographical, some of these things, where people, you just can't expect, like, racism or, like, this one thing to be the factor. Like, there's so many different things.
Exactly.
But anyways, that's how we came to the left.
So thank you for tuning in to the YAF Cast. My name is Emma.
My name's Joe.
And we hope to see you next week.